Welcome to the Curious Conversation Collaborative, a community for purpose-seeking entrepreneurs, leaders, and changemakers.
Listen to inspiring conversations with your hosts, inner leadership mentor Tessa Van Keken and business wealth coach Karen Ravel.
Hi, Karen.
Hello. Hi, Tessa.
Hi, everyone. And we wanted to introduce a new theme, and we will be talking for a few episodes around healing and transformation. And we wanted to talk about this because we talk a lot about some of the strategies and mindset and even state of being, mindfulness a little bit. But really, when we were chatting at some point the last couple of weeks, we really felt that this healing and transformation in the end is actually at the core of the work that we do, even though sometimes it might be more business related, at least the stuff we talk about here. So we just thought we'll just go a little bit deeper and talk a little bit about that. And there's quite a few analogies that we use around this in the work. Especially I use it a lot with the more mindset, the more healing and meditation work. But interestingly, when I was speaking to Karen as well, that she does use it as well, also in her in the more wealth and business work as well. So Karen, do you want to explain a little bit some of the analogies that we were talking about?
Yeah, so there's one that is it's quite common in the personal development world, but that doesn't mean to say that everyone's heard that. So one of the ways to describe transformation or the process of transformation is this analogy that each and every one of us is a diamond. And when we're born, we are a crystal clear, shiny diamond, and there is only one of you in the world, one diamond like you that's cut in the way that you are. And as we go through life, we start covering that diamond with, I'm going to say horse manure to be polite at the moment, but I might use a stronger word in a minute. But basically, as we go through life, we take on beliefs and perspectives that aren't necessarily our own. We inherit them from our parents and guardians, our culture, society at large, from the news and the media, and the people around us. And we take these on as being truths. And quite often they can not be in our favor, so they can kind of dim our light. So as we go through life, and especially in our early years, we are basically having our diamond covered up with all of this shit, basically. But then what we do to go out to the world is we like to put on a polish, a veneer, because we don't want the world to see all of this shit, because this is all our vulnerability there. So it's kind of like we've got a layer of like nail varnish, the polish that we want the world to see us. So when we come to doing real deep transformation and healing work, what is actually happening is the first thing that happens is we're breaking through that polish. And what that means is we start wading around in all of that shit underneath. And this is what it is. Yeah, and that's what it is. And it's vulnerable. And a lot of people won't go there, or that they'll take that first step breaking through, but when all this stuff comes up, they don't want to go any further. But the true transformation is about wading around in all of this and scraping it away so that you can allow that diamond, that inner diamond, to shine out again.
Yeah.
And that's the analogy that we use to talk about transformation and healing in this way, doing this deep work.
Yeah, and I really liked it because it was funny that the first time you mentioned that, I'd heard did a lot, of course, both from the self-development as well, but also really in the spiritual healing world. That so it's interesting that for me, because I knew it from my spiritual practice, but I hadn't really used it much in the more, as I said, in the more and more business related, mindset related work, because to me, that really felt, oh yeah, that's the spiritual practice, and not everyone wants to do that. So when you use that actually in a well, you know, it wasn't pure business training setting, but even so, it was kind of more business related for some people maybe. I really liked that, because I was like, yeah, this is true. This is not something just for your deeper spiritual practice. This is something that really helps everyone in every level. And again, whether you know, if you don't like the word diamond, if that to you feels a little bit woo or whatever, that's why I like this. Like, you know, we have this core, we have this, most people are nowadays comfortable with seeing that we have an inner light. You can call it true self. It doesn't really matter what you call it. But that's why I really liked this with the veneer and the polish, because it makes it nearly more tangible for a lot of people. You can really see that, right? And we all know that feeling that we say, oh, but I can't be who I really am on the inside, or I've lost that innocence from a child, you know? So we all know, whatever way you want to call it, we have that feeling of like, yeah, but I have my harness, or I have my outside image, and all these words we use. And I think
this is, you know, and it is common in everyday life, you know, and especially in business and career, because I think the word professional, when people think of them being a professional, they feel like they have to put on this veneer, this polish. On in how they present themselves. And yes, there's a certain standard of ethics and things like that, absolutely, but it doesn't mean becoming someone that we're not. And this is what the polish, you know, can be. And sometimes it can be really thick. We've put layers and layers, you know, anyone, I mean, you know, I'm not a good example because I bite my nails, but anyone who wears nail varnish, you know, you can put layers and layers on and it can become really thick. And that's for what some people are doing. They're putting on that really thick protective layer. They don't want people to see their vulnerability, the stuff that's going on inside. It doesn't mean to say they don't have it. They absolutely do. They're just too scared for others to see it. And I think there's also been this cultural belief, especially in the corporate world, that it's weak to share that. And I think this is where, you know, a new strain of leadership is coming through, of how it's not weak to show your vulnerability. No. You know.
And I think one important thing, what I've seen, like in my work with people as well, is that there's one thing of not wanting other people to see it, but there's also, what I've seen a lot is when people come all enthusiastic and say, yes, I'm going to work on myself, I'm going to be a better person, I'm going to be the best version of myself, and it's going to be fun. And then they start working and they start opening the veneer, and then like in a safe space, you know, in either a coaching session or a healing session, but they're going to work on it, so there's no one else seeing it but me, if anything comes up. But then it comes up and they feel it, they see it. And there's also that fear of like, whoa, I liked my varnish side better. Yeah. You know, I don't want to see that I have jealousy inside. I don't want to see I have fear. I don't want to see I have anger. This image I had, this confident woman, this is how I want to see myself. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a lot of like, the work that we do is also around holding that space for people where they can find the strength, the courage, to actually, first of all, for themselves, actually sit with that shit. Because to reach that diamond, you need to also yourself, you actually have to go through that again. So the more layers you have built up, the harder sometimes the route to the diamond can feel. Because like, again, if the veneer is very thin, it's kind of easy-ish, right? You open it up, you have a bit of like, and then, oh, there's the diamond, yay, great. Mm-hmm. But then for a lot of people, because most of us, you know, as you said, you build layers on layers on layers, and then you have even built veneer. So first of all, you have to go through all these things that you also got attached to. You know, you got attached to this veneer, because again, if I'm like this, being seen and see myself as this confident woman, and I've, you know, all these things, my ego got attached to that as well. So to let it go is difficult too. And especially if then, before I get to that true self, that diamond, that inner light, before that I have to go through the dark and see all these other things I don't like about myself, and I definitely don't want other people to see, then, you know, it's very easy to stop that and go back and say, no, let's leave that.
And that's the key. And that's one of the things that I, you know, tell my clients, is that if you're going through transformation, you can start off enthusiastic and you can be willing and be open and vulnerable to go through that first layer. But as you start going deeper into it, there comes a point which I call the dip, you know, and you just dip down. And you might back away, like you were saying, you just suddenly want to go back to what's safe, because that's exactly it. That's what your ego knows. It's like your personality. It's created. Ego loves identity. So we go through this dip, and for many people, that's the point where they'll back away. Whereas if you know that that is part of the transformation process, you can expect it and know what's going on, and know it's normal in transformation to come up against this dip. And if you can carry on and work through it, that's where you will have the actual transformation. It is on the other side of that dip, but you have to be willing, you have to be aware, I think, to know that it will happen. It happens to all of us. And then, like you say, the transformation is on the other side.
Yeah, and I think, and this is why it's so important, like I always say as well with the people I work with, I say, look, you also need to be kind to yourself and make sure you create a space where you can do this, because it can be tough. Like, you know, so, you know, I think the most important thing I always say is, like, you know, you need to be willing to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
And that is harder than it sounds, because most people find that actually very difficult. So you need to be willing to actually see that we all have also negative emotions. And I even don't like the word negative in that, but we have emotions like fear, worry, anger, you know, jealousy even. So to, rather than, what the mind wants to do is find a reason why it's justified for me to have that feeling. But that means I'm looking at something outside. Right. Absolutely. So again, it doesn't help me to, like, even if factually there was a reason for me to feel that way, that it seems justifiable, then even so, focusing on that still takes me away from going through that diamond. So I need to just look at the fact I have that feeling, and what does that do with me, and how can I go deeper than that. And I think that's for me, like, again, I feel there is a lot of stuff out there that actually seems positive, but blocks people from going there by, like, for instance, if people work only with affirmations or positive psychology without the deeper level, because then it's telling yourself something that you don't actually experience. And then, so then it's just another layer. It actually is a layer on top of, again, saying, no, I see myself as good. I see myself as this or that. Whereas if you don't actually see that, if there's stuff there in you that stops you, then you still need to kind of put that on top. I do think if you use these positive ways of talking to yourself, while at the same time looking where that's not the case, and starting to balance where you feel the friction, and use that feeling of friction as you're learning to go, hey, what is there? What do I need to go through? Then it's perfect. It can be very helpful. But I think the problem is that a lot of the kind of more, you know, fleshy, feel-good stuff around that actually enables people to keep that in that varnish stage. And it's such a shame, really. And I think, and again, don't get me wrong, a lot of people can feel happy in that varnish stage for a very, very long time. And that makes it also so hard, because you say to people, like, so why would you not, you know, just stay there? Why would you go through the shit? And I think for me, it's that point where people, I call it often that how would you say it? It's that moment of friction. We all have it, right? You feel good about yourself, and still there is that little ache, that little something that feels something isn't right. There must be a little bit more than this. This is not really, it doesn't feel completely real.
Yeah, and I think that could be a topic for another episode, that we can dive deeper into that whole process. But I think, yeah, just to sum up, is that, you know, it takes courage to go through transformation, and as you said, Tessa, to be kind to yourself, because it is a vulnerable place to enter into.
Yeah.
And that is part of the process. Be aware of that. Be kind, be bold, and you will come out to a better place on the other side.
Yeah. And I think, again, you know, holding space for yourself is wonderful, but there's absolutely no shame also in allowing other people to hold space. And that could be family or friends, or it could be a coach or mentor and healer. It doesn't matter, like whatever it is that you need, because just it's like a preparation for a journey. Like you are going on a journey inwards, and it's like on any journey, there always is also dangers. There is also other stuff. So rather than being afraid of that, you know, it is totally fine to prepare by making sure you have also some support in place for when you hit maybe that dip which you mentioned, or something else that you know, okay, when I hit that, I make sure to be prepared by having the support I need to go through that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Right. Well, very curious what people might have to say about this. If this brings up anything for you, feel free to share any experiences or tips or anything else you want in the comments wherever you're watching or listening to this. Or if there's something deeper coming up for you, feel free to message us if you like. I'd love to, you know, support or talk to you if you need to. And thank you, Karen. It was a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, likewise.
Right. Talk to you next time. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Did you enjoy this episode? Do share your thoughts and questions in the comments, or send us a message.
Do you know of someone else who'd be interested in our curious conversations? Please share and spread the word. You can find out more about us at KarenRavel.com
and tessavankeken.com. Tune in next week for another curious conversation.